It's May in Phoenix, Arizona, and your garden might look like it's thriving right now, but what you do this month will determine if your garden survives the summer or if it just gets cooked alive. Today we're talking about my version of mulching, watering, shade, and plants that will actually survive the summer. So let's get into it. May is a transition month, and though it feels great out right now, those scorching temperatures aren't far off. So if you prepare your garden, we're going to soar through summer. But if you don't, you'll be out here in triple-digit heat, trying to fix problems that probably could have been avoided. So let's put those systems in place now. We're going to talk about cooling the soil, adjusting your watering, putting up shade, and growing the crops that actually like to grow in the heat. I've never really mulched in the traditional sense. Of course, I'll put down compost, but I don't use straw, hay, pine needles, those kind of things. What I do prefer are living plants that help to cool the soil. Think things like sweet potatoes, buckwheat, black-eyed peas. They're a living organic blanket for your soil. They help keep the moisture in, they help keep the temperature down, and they'll add organic matter back into the soil. Plus, they're not just sitting there, they're working. They're attracting pollinators, they're actually growing food, and they're helping to improve soil structure. So while traditional mulch is great, I prefer to use the right living plants because it does about the same thing and it gives you food. And that's how I like to roll. Now let's talk about watering. It's absolutely time to get your watering dialed in. The key is deep watering that's spaced out, not daily, shallow, frequent drinks. What you're shooting for is roots that will grow deep to help stay out of the summer heat. When dialing in my watering system, I usually go by feel. I'll stick my finger into the soil a few inches down, and if it's dry, well, it's time to water again. But if it's damp and it kind of feels like a moist sponge, you know what? I hold off. And be sure to check your irrigation system. You want to make sure that the water's actually flowing and the timer's going off at the right time. It's so much easier to fix it now in May when it's not 110 degrees, because when it is 110 and you're outside and you're watching your plants wilt, it's terrible. Believe me, I've been there and I've regretted it. Now let's talk about shade. Be sure to shade when and where your plants need it. Shade is absolutely one of the best tools for summer survival, but not every plant needs it. I like to use natural shade when I can. Taller plants along the west and south sides of the garden, even a trellis that will grow vines over it is fantastic for casting shadows. With all that said, I'm not above using shade cloth, however. It is a fantastic option, and usually a shade cloth of 30 to 40% will be good for most vegetables. More fragile crops like tomatoes can absolutely benefit from shade, but then you have the heat-loving ones like okra or sweet potatoes that don't need shade at all. So don't just throw up a shade and cover everything just because it's hot outside. Be sure to be plant specific. So let's talk about growing what actually loves the heat. So if we stop fighting the summer heat and start working with it, we're going to be far better off. Some crops are actually built for the heat and will thrive while others are struggling. Here are my go-to champions for the heat. Armenian cucumbers, these keep producing even in the worst heat. Jerusalem artichokes, they're tough and low maintenance, but they will spread, so be sure to not put them in your main bed. Basil, this goes wild once it warms up. Black-eyed peas are a great cover crop and food source all in one. Buckwheat is great for the soil and pollinators. Cantaloupe loves the heat if you keep it watered. Malabar spinach is one of those spinaches that won't bolt and goes through the summer. Okra, well, that just loves the heat and practically thrives in lava. Roselle hibiscus is a tropical, beautiful, and edible flower. And sunflowers, they provide shade, beauty, and seeds. And finally, we have sweet potatoes, which is my favorite living mulch and summer staple. So don't wait for your first plant meltdown. May is the month where you get your garden ready for summer. It's time for you to make sure that you cover your soil however you do that. Make sure you adjust your watering, put up shade where you need it, and plant crops that actually enjoy the heat. Let me know what your favorite heat-loving crops are, and if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I appreciate it, and you guys have a fantastic day.